another episode of The Metal Voice, where two aging headbangers sit here and discuss all things metal. Today's episode will be on the origins of heavy metal.
The birth of doom.
Jim, for you, where do you think it all started with?
The birth of doom, well, it would have to, somewhere between Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and maybe The Who. So you had Led Zeppelin, Communication Breakdown, probably one of the first real metal songs as we know it today. And then you had My Generation by The Who, very punk, angry, angst song. And then you had just Deep Purple, came in as this screaming, pre-headbanging music.
I think those are all good points, and but I think for me it all started with Black Sabbath, with this album right here. You know, just a little bit of history. The four guys from Birmingham who grew up poor and formed a blues band, and originally named Polka Tuck, went on to be which was named after a carpet salesman in their little town, and then it went on to Earth, and it was just a basic blues band. Tony Iommi, they all had day jobs, and he was a sheet metal worker, and he had an accident where the ends of the tips of his fingers were cut off, and just the fact that they put some caps on and just some of the pain that he was experiencing at the time, he had to detune his instrument, going down to a lower register. Just by necessity, Jim, it created what for myself is known as heavy metal today, the sound of heavy metal as we know it today.
Then of course you had Ozzy Osbourne, the tone of his voice, that doom sound in his voice. You had Geezer Butler, who a lot of people don't know wrote all the lyrics for Black Sabbath, or the majority of the lyrics for Black Sabbath.
Great bass player.
Phenomenal bass player. You had Bill Ward, who was this jazz drummer. You put it all together and you get Black Sabbath, the birth of doom.
Released Friday, February 13th, 1970. This is the first album. Great songs, from the tolling of the bells and the rain falling to that first power chord of Black Sabbath, and that first line, "What is this that stands before me?"
What is this that stands before me? I was scared. When I was looking at this album cover when I was a little kid, I was going, what is this lady doing? Who is this lady? Why is she in a forest? I'm scared. I was scared. I was a young lad, and I was just saying, what's going on here? Should I be listening to this music?
So you got the Wizard on there, NIB again.
Wizard.
The whole collective went gold in the United States about a year and a half later. And again, I think it was solidified, the whole metal sound that we know today was solidified on the subsequent albums, which was Paranoid, with songs like Iron Man, Children of the Grave, and Master Reality. Children of the Grave.
What always got me, Alan, I just want to go off topic just a little bit. I remember seeing Ozzy in concert later on, and he used to always say, you know, right before one of the songs, "This is one of my favorite songs, one of the songs I wrote. You always hear I wrote, but the reality was he didn't really write much. It was actually Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler who were writing the lyrics and the music. But I love Ozzy, and don't get me wrong, it's just a little note there.
Then from there you've got Volume 4, there were experiences, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, you know, a lot of different variations, changes, just with Ozzy singing with just keyboards. Changes. So, and that goes on to the later stages where, you know, some of the access, some of the indulgences of rock and roll started to take over.
Then you had Sabotage, where they started bringing in the orchestra, bringing the guys with the violins and the flutes, bringing the guys with the violins and flutes, please.
And then you had, you know, the drugs, the alcohol, the egos were getting into play for the later albums, Never Say Die and Technical Ecstasy.
Which actually, Never Say Die isn't the worst album. You could see they were trying really hard. I love Junior's Eyes. I love Johnny Blade, which is a phenomenal song.
Never Say Die
is amazing. And the other stuff was kind of jazz, rock oriented. It wasn't the worst music you ever heard.
But I remember seeing interviews at that time, and Ozzy kept saying, you know, Tony's the boss, man. He's the boss, man. You know, Geezer went on a holiday, you know, and he fired Geezer, man. He was the boss, and I was boss. It took me about 15 minutes to figure out he was saying boss. So again, egos were taken to play. They weren't the powerful band that they were in the early '70s. So, but to get into that, Jim, what's your favorite Black Sabbath album? The Ozzy years.
The Ozzy years is, like I said before, it's Paranoid. Just the fact that it was it was one of their best songs. It just captured the Black Sabbath sound. Paranoid, War Pigs, Fairies Wear Boots, Hand of Doom. and the others. I mean, it was just an overall, it just captured what Black Sabbath is.
I'd have to go with, I always had a sweet spot for Volume 4. It was one of the first Black Sabbath albums that I purchased. We got Supernaut on there, St. Vitus's Dance. A lot of very, upbeat. It's a much more upbeat album compared to some of the earlier ones. The guitar playing's phenomenal on it. That's one of the ones I would go with for the Ozzy years.
And as a side note, the critics never really liked most of the Black Sabbath albums, and they just went gold and platinum all the time.
They got into that whole dark devil worshipping aspect that turned off.
But they all had crosses the right side, so you go figure.
Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Metal Voice. Don't forget to check out our website, www.themetalvoice.com.
Or you can email us at themetalvoice@gmail.com. You can see it on the screen and here. And you know what? If you have a question for us, if you want us to debate a subject, well, send it over to us and we'll gladly debate it, as long as it's debatable. Anyways, join us next week on another phenomenal show of The Metal Voice.
Take care and see you soon.